Hey folks, welcome back to another video of the Flutter Development course brought to you by Newton School. My name is Harsh Kumar Khatri and I am currently working as a Flutter developer at Deloitte, Sweden, and I have worked as an intern at Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and I have also interned at a firm named AppScript where I was working as a Flutter developer. I am also an educator and instructor on Udemy and Edunix where my Flutter development courses have more than 40,000 plus enrollments, so you can check them out as well. Now talking about what Newton School is, so basically Newton School is a platform that helps you to learn and develop the skills that you need for your best tech career. There are courses specifically designed for freshers, working professionals and for women with no prior experience in tech. Newton School first trains you for 6 months and helps you become a full stack developer, and they are also having 300 plus great companies who hire directly from Newton School, so you don't have to worry about the placement. They are also having a pay after placement program where you don't have to pay anything to Newton School until and unless you are placed with a minimum CTC of 5 lakh rupees per annum. And they are also having another amazing initiative known as Launchpad where they are providing you with some of the courses for free of cost, so you can go through those courses, learn the things which are being taught and also get a certificate of completion for the same. So you can check out Newton School and Launchpad through the link given in the description, and I would definitely suggest you to do so. So in this video I am going to show you the implementation of state management solution with the help of another package which is available to us. So in this video I am going to use providers for implementing the state management inside our counter app, and I'll be showing you how the complete implementation for the same is totally from scratch. So without wasting any more time, let's jump directly to the code. So herein you can see over here that I have opened the app and switched my screen. So this is basically the app which we have covered in the previous video. So in the previous video I have shown you how you can add the block package inside your Flutter application and how you can implement the blocks, creating various different events, the states, and how you can integrate or map the events to the state of the app and update the app state dynamically at the runtime inside a stateful widget. So I have shown you that in the previous video, and in this video we are going to work on the similar thing by using the provider package. So let's start working on the same, but before that let me just clean up the folders a bit. So I don't need this counter, and inside the pubspec.yaml file I don't need all of these packages anymore, and I'll be replacing these packages with the provider package. So deleting these and copying the provider, hitting Ctrl S so that the provider is being fetched, and deleting this as well as I don't need this anymore. And it is fetching that. Until then let's delete this, and we'll be creating the body and other things later on. So let's start first implementing the counter.dart file, which will be the file having each of these functions for incrementing, decrementing, and resetting the value of the counter variable back to 0. Inside this file only we'll be having the counter variable, and we'll be like having a change notifier. So what change notifier basically is, it is a class that can be extended or mixed with the provided change notifier API. So whenever there is a update, or whenever there is a change in the value of any variable which we are specifying, so accordingly it will be updating the state, and it will be helping us build the app by using the change notifier provider which we will be using. And this provider will be helping us set the value or update the value inside those particular locations as well. Locations only as well would be a wrong word to use. So yeah, this would be the use of that particular thing, the thing which we have added. So let's start working on it. I'm getting an error over here. No, it has gone away. So let's start by creating the counter.dart file. So inside the source directory I'll be creating a counter.dart file for me. It will be importing the provider package. So provider, and I don't think I need a provider over here. I need a material.dart package over here. Let me first import it. So material.dart, and it will be of a type class having a name as counter with a change notifier, and inside it a variable of a type private, so integer counter, and counter this dot counter. So it was providing us with an error, and I had like made a typo, so that's why it was providing us with an error. Now let me create the get counter. What we can say, this get counter would be a function which will be helping us get the value of this underscore counter, and we can use the value of the same inside our file like the main.dart file. and the set counter as well, which will be like setting the value of the counter, like it will be setting an integer value of underscore counter to the integer counter value which we are having over here, or the integer counter variable which we are having. So here in setting the value of underscore, setting the value of this counter to underscore counter. So what this set underscore counter set counter function would be for, so whenever we are getting or whenever we are updating the value of this counter variable, so this would be basically the variable which will be provided as a public variable inside the main.dart file, and accordingly we will be updating the value of this underscore counter herein, and on the basis of that update we will be then changing the value inside our application. And we need to create three functions. One would be increment, and it will be increasing the value of underscore counter by 1, and it will be notifying the listeners. Similarly we have to do this 2 more time. So increment would be replaced by decrement, counter minus minus, notify the listener, and reset counter 0. And this completes our counter.dart file. Now we need to go back to the main.dart file, and herein, as we have used the scaffold for the home, so I guess I need to replace that, and in place of that I'll be adding a change notifier. So let me just delete this complete scaffold, delete or rather cut, because like we'll be using it later on. So I'm cutting it from here, and I'll be adding a change notifier provider which will be of a type counter, the one which we have created, and it will be then having a create which will be used for creating the counter which will be used for creating the counter provider which we have created, or like initiating the counter class which we have for like listening or updating the value on the basis of the changes being occurring inside our app. And it will be having counter with the value of 0, and we need to add a child as well. So for the child I'll be pasting the similar thing. We are still getting an error for this, so the operator isn't defined as a type, no quick fix available. I need to, oh, I guess I have made an error over here. I need to replace this with this, and deleting this with this, and I guess this should fix this. Yeah, so the create error, the child error, and this error which was occurring over here has gone away. And now we need to work on the body part, but before that we need a provider variable as well. So I will be creating a final count which would be equal to provider, show me the, I have already imported provider, so provider dot of context, and it would be having, it can take other variables as well, but I am not passing those variables. So undefined context, import .js library, still undefined context. I guess the reason for this not being able to identify context is because we have added it inside the material app only, and we have not used this, or the reason for this not being able to identify context is that we are initializing it above the build statement. We need to initialize it under the build statement for this to work. So this looks fine. And for the body part, we don't need this block builder anymore, so I'll be cutting out the center and deleting this block builder, pasting the center in place of it. And now I can change the text widget which is being displayed. So in place of this state dot whatever it is, we want to display a type of string which is being displayed from the counter variable which we have initialized, and the value of which it would be displayed from get counter. and quick fix. What's the name of so we have initialized it as counter, and yeah, you can see over here that counter error has gone away. And now for the on press we need to change the functions as well. So what I can do is deleting these and counter dot or counter dot increment. Is it taking this or not? It is showing me an error. Quick fix add let me delete this and counter dot increment, similarly copying it, pasting it, decrement, and similarly reset, and this should work. And you can see over here that we are displayed with a very random error inside our app. And let me just restart the app once so that the things inside the app could take place, and then I'll be explaining you what is going inside this app as well. And after the app restarting as well, we are getting an error that provider.offDynamic is likely a mistake and is unsupported. So let me see what I can do for this error and how I can fix this. So change notifier counter, we have set it to be correct, and build counter, that's too fine. Let me hot restart it once again. Still getting the same error. So let me just remove this scaffold from here, and inside it I can add a home page in place of this. So home page stf home page. Oh, I need to make a stateless widget over here, or stateless class. So home page, and replacing this and taking this counter out of this, pasting it inside this. Still getting the same error. Last time hot restarting, else I'll be stopping the app and will be rerunning the app once. I can try one more thing, like adding a type over here rather than it being generic. So yeah, this has fixed us the error for us. So basically it was accepting the it was like seeing for the provider.off to be of a type counter rather than a generic one. So if we are not passing a counter for it, so it will be taking a generic type T. But in case of this, we are using the provider to be, or we are listening to the states whenever, or we are listening to the notifier of the class counter. So we need to specify the counter rather than it being a generic one. So this is what is happening over here. Let me hot restart it once again so that the debug console also is cleaned up and the app has restarted. Now before starting with the explanation, let me first tell you, or let me first walk you through what is taking place over here. So herein you can see that we have this stateless widget, and herein also we have this stateless widget, which means that these are not dynamic in nature. And for the home of this, we are having this change notifier provider, which will be listening to each of the changes which are being taking place, and on the basis of each of these changes it will be like providing the updated value, and we will be then using that updated value inside our Flutter application, and we'll be displaying that with the help of this get counter getter, which we have created inside this counter.dart file. So this is what we will be doing. And for the same we are having this change notifier with this counter and different functions and different variables which will be updating the variables dynamically. And herein we are calling the functions from counter.increment, .decrement and .reset. So this is what is taking place inside the app, and herein we have this counter variable as well, which is listening to or which has the value of the provider with the context of a type being counter. And let me now show you the implementation, and then I'll be showing you another amazing thing which is happening and how we can fix that. So now when I'll be clicking on this +1 button, you can see over here that the value of this variable would be increasing by 1 each of the time I'll be clicking on the +1 button. When I'll be clicking on the -1 button, the value would be decreasing by 1. And when I'll be clicking on this replay button, the replay floating action button, the value would be set to 0 again. So you can see the implementation of that. Now the amazing thing which I was talking about, so let me just add a print statement over here which will be of a type high, which will be displaying the string to be high. And now when I'll be clicking on this, so you can see over here that in the debug console high is printing again and again. So this is a very major error, or this is a very major issue when you are trying to work with any of the apps which is having the values being updated dynamically, although you are using a stateless widget over here. So what this is doing over here is whenever you are hitting the button, the event is being triggered and the value is being updated and the provider is listening to the change. The notify listeners are updating the changes, and this change notifier provider is listening to the change being taking place, and it is rerunning this build widget automatically each time a value is being updated. So whenever you are updating or you are making a event or whenever you are making a click, so this build statement is being called each and every time for the same, and this will be laying the build statement or it will be displaying, or it will be making the components of this build statement again and again, which would be resulting in the app performance being lost and the app would result in being laggy. So for working with this, what we can do is we have another amazing thing which is being provided, which is basically called a consumer. So what consumer will be doing is that if you are having, or if you are updating the value of any particular thing, and if you are wrapping that thing over a consumer, so that consumer would only be updating that particular thing inside the UI rather than updating or building the complete UI. So you will be understanding this once I have shown you the implementation for it. So let me show you that as well. So consumer it will be, and it will be having a builder, but let me first add it to be of a type counter, because if I am not adding it, then it can again provide me with an error. And this takes a builder which will be taking a context and data, and apart from that it also takes a widget. So for that I'll be taking, or I'll be having a child over here variable, and herein I'll be returning text. So rather than adding a text, let me just copy the text from below and then comment it out. Return text over here. So context counter.getCounter, and rather than getting the counter, I'll be returning it from data, and I guess this looks fine. And one more thing, if we are adding a counter over here, so we can't directly listen to each of these statements, or we can't directly listen to each of these changes. So we have to add another property over here, which is a listen property, and by default the value of this property is true. So we need to set it to false. Else if we are not setting it to false, then this consumer would also be listening to each of the value being updated, and it will be building the state again and again and running this build widget again and again, which will be resulting in this high being printed again and again, and the performance of app being lost. So this is how you can restrict the values, or how you can restrict the build statement being called again and again, and how you can update only the component which is having the value being updated dynamically in the backend. So as the app has restarted, you can see over here that at first when the build statement was called, only that time high was printed, and now when I'll be clicking on this button over here, you can see that the value of this variable counter is increasing, but the high is not printing again and again. So it has already printed once, and now it is not printing again and again. So whenever the value is being updated dynamically in the backend, only this consumer is listening to that update and updating that particular part of the UI rather than updating the complete or rather than calling the build statement automatically the full build statement and like displaying or updating the complete UI. So this was it for this particular video. To sum up, I have covered about providers in this video and I have shown you the implementation for them as well. So we have worked with change notifiers inside our app, and I have shown you the implementation of the providers, like how we can add the change notifier provider and how we can get the value of the updated variables from the provider and how we can update them dynamically inside our app. I have also shown you the implementation for the consumer inside this app, which would be restricting the complete UI or which would be restricting the call of the build widget again and again, and it would be only updating the part of the UI which has the value being updated in the backend. And this was pretty much it for this video. If you got to learn something new, then make sure to drop a like, comment down your views and comment down any other thing if you want to see and you want me to cover in these videos. Subscribe to the channel to get all the latest updates related to the Flutter course going on. A new video is being posted every alternate day. Make sure to share the videos with the people in your community who want to learn Flutter as well. And also make sure to check out Newton School and Launchpad through the link given in the description. So they are doing amazing work. Make sure to check them out as well. And this was pretty much it for this video. I'll be seeing you in the next one.